وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Now, what I was trying to say in the khutbah today, that the important is actually to get eventually to Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah become the most important thing in your life, and you are with Allah Azza wa Jal. You get His help, His support, His acceptance, and you always carry on worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal and being good and kind and things. To get to Allah Azza wa Jal, you need obviously to believe correctly in Allah Azza wa Jal, and you need to start the actions of worshipping Allah, salah, zakah, fasting, hajj. But you need also to clean your heart from all the bad habits and acquire new habits, which will eventually get you close to Allah. And what I was trying to say to the people in Friday today, that to understand how to become only Allah exists and you are irrelevant, to think about these who were madly in love in their life, like, you know, Romeo and Juliet, and I was saying Qais and Layla, and Antara and Abla. And I was saying Qais and Layla, he was so madly in love with Layla that he would go to the house and kiss the walls and the doors. And I say, it wasn't that I'm in love with the walls and the doors. I'm in love with the one who's inside. So when I said in the khutbah, when they call Qais, he doesn't answer. Qais. If you say Layla, you will tell. So his father was really worried about him, that it's only Layla. So he took him to Hajj. And he said, you know, I'll pay for you to go to Hajj, but perhaps you ask Allah Azza wa Jal to cure you when you forget this Layla. And then he was in Hajj and he was hanging by the cloth of Kaaba. Oh Allah, don't make me unlove Layla. Make me continuously love Layla. So his father wasted his time and money. So to reach that stage, this is what Qushayri did. He wrote the book. He said, this is what people who did that and reached that stage doing, and this is what you need to do to get to that stage. So become Allah Azza wa Jalla, become more important to you than anyone else, and you will be the delight of your time to be praying, fasting, avoiding the haram, do the halal, avoid people, be detached from them when they're wasting your time and things. And we talked last week about al-uzla. And so today I'm talking about al-wara'. Al-wara', scrupulousness. Is this the way you read it in English? Scrupulousness. Scrupulousness. Yeah. It's too long. Wara is easy. Wara. Wara. Without the L. Wara. Wara. And the Prophet ﷺ taught Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, he said to him, من حسن إسلام المرء تركه ما لا يعني. That's wara. It's not going to say me, why to worry? Are you aware of the table of the groups in Qatar? No, not really, because it doesn't concern me, so I don't even waste time to chase it. I know I can find it on the internet, but it doesn't interest me. Who's going to be in the final 16? I don't know. Britain, I thought, might be in Morocco. Morocco. We really need to be careful in probably I told you this event happened to me. I went to Isle of Man. I was doing locum. Isle of Man is near Scotland, so all the doctors there are from Scotland. And it was 1998, I think, when there were a game between Scotland and Morocco. And I was watching, and the whole mess, you know, the doctor mess, were full of doctors watching. And Morocco scored, and I went, hey! And everyone was, oh! I mean, if we're not doctors and we were not in hospital, forget it, we'd be dead or something. I was taken, after I said, I just made a big mistake in my life. So, yeah, I'm lucky I wasn't in a pub. So Al-wara', the Prophet ﷺ taught Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, he said, one of the best features of a man's Islam is his giving up that does not concern him. And you will save a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of... And Al-Qushayri himself said, Al-wara' tark al-shubuhat. Easy. What's wara'? Leave anything you are in doubt. So who owns this cup? Where this cup came from? Who bought it? This is what you think before. If you are wari', who bought it? Where the money came from? How did it get to the mosque? Am I allowed to use it or not? I know that tea halal, mashallah, alhamdulillah, with a cup. You need to think about it. So we'll come to us, wara'. Ibrahim Adham said, tark kull shubha. Everything doubtful, you will leave it. وَتَرْكْ مَا لَا يَعْنِيكَ وَتَرْكُ الْفَضْلَاتِ. So everything doesn't need you, you don't need it anyway. So Al-Qushayri says, scrupulousness is giving up doubtful or dubious things. And likewise, Ibrahim Adam said that scrupulousness is giving up whatever is dubious and whatever does not concern you. So that's wara', easy. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu said, we used to leave 70 things halal. 70 is like a large number. That doesn't mean like 70 and 71 will be okay. 70 could leave 100. 100 doubtful things we leave because there could be one of them is haram. So no, I don't want all of them. So, I know majority are, yeah, but there's one. If you point out to me the one, I will take it. So this is Siddiq. This is why he reached the stage of Siddiq. مع الصديقين والشهداء والصالحين وحسن أولئك مع الأنبياء النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين. The second status after the Prophet is Siddiq. So he used to say we leave 70 doors or 70 things which is halal because we were really worried that we could fall within the haram, stepping into only one thing which is forbidden, which is meaning now we might leave a lot of things. Abu Hurairah said, "Kun wari'an takun a'bad an-nas." If you are wari', exercise the wara', you will be the one who is worshipping Allah the most. You will be worshipping Allah the most. A'bad an-nas. You will be God's greatest servant. So السر السقطي, he said, كان أهل الورع في أوقاتهم أربعة. At his time there's only 4 people who have the ورع: حذيفة المرتعش ويوسف بن أسباط وإبراهيم بن أدهم وسليمان الخواص. فنظروا في الورع فلما ضاقت عليهم الأمور فزعوا إلى التقلل. That they had very, very little things. There only 4 people at his time he considered they were wari'in, and when they found it is completely, complicated, they said, okay, we'll only eat the minimum. The minimum we know it's halal, to the absolute minimum. And also الشبلي said الورع أن تتورع عن كل ما سوى الله تعالى. So I don't want anything, just Allah Azza wa Jalla. Shibli, if you notice that last time we said, Shibli said, leave everybody and go and be with Allah Azza wa Jalla till you die. So he was like the extreme. So people will still need to eat and drink and marry and look after family and things. And إسحاق بن خلف said الورع المنطق أشد منه في الذهب والفضة والزهد في الرياسة أشد منه في الذهب والفضة لأنك تبدلهما في طلب الرئاسة. That to be wari', it's extremely expensive because you might be really luxury things, might be really something you want to do. So in the speech is harder than being scrupulous about with gold and silver. Imagine to be wari' in speech. You don't say but the minimum words. You don't say but really the necessary words. And if it is with the authority, it will be, again, is very difficult. It will be like abstaining from gold, silver, and gold. And I was listening to somebody was talking about becoming famous. And they said, just when you become famous, it's difficult to accept not being famous again. And they will be, it's like, what's the difference between democracy and a dictatorship? One of the billionaires of America went to Dubai, and he said, it's better to be in Dubai because he will do what he think it suits you. You're not going to remove him, so he's going to stay there, you like it or not. But in America, they will do what will make you vote for them. So they could do the evil things. This is how they ended with this LGBT and others, because they will do what please you to vote for them. So it could go down the drain, and they don't have an end. They don't have a cut-off line. Oh, that's it, and we're not going to go that far. Now, if most people become cheaters and fraudsters and thief, and they will vote you if you allow us to steal. They will allow stealing. Now,
there's a bit of a tangent, but really some statistics on how the British population is increasing and how, have you seen them?
Yeah.
How the Muslims have increased. And I just don't understand how promoting something like LGBT, where the population is clearly declining, literally 10, 20, 30, 40 years. If they're promoting a lifestyle that's not producing children,
it's a matter of time.
It's like they're destroying themselves. And then plus on top of that, a lot of people are being encouraged to, even not everyone's being encouraged to have children, like even couples. So it's like, okay, I mean, the Muslims I think grew 3 million.
Yes.
And the percentage.
1.2 million something like this. Out of
became 6.5. Yeah. They were 3%. When I first came here, we were 3%. Now it's 6.5, doubled in number. But the thing is that all the misbehavior and deviation, it's actually people just follow their own lusts and desires. You can't stop them because unless they believe in Allah, Allah said haram. I don't care what people do. But Allah said haram, it's haram. Like Allah said haram, don't drink alcohol. It's legal. It's in every supermarket. You go to many parties and things. It's sell for free. But Allah said haram, we leave it. Allah said haram, pork, haram is we leave it. I'm not going to justify why it's haram. I don't care. I want to please Allah, so it's haram for me. Yeah. But for them, it's like shooting themselves in the foot, because you already have pressure not to have too many children, because ladies don't want to have children until they secure their career, and they go up in the ladder in the career, become very high in top and this, and they become very close to the 40s when they get Mongolism and things. So they have little gap between the time they finish having a career and the time they have children. They can't take time off, so it's only have enough time for one child or no children at all. And then there's a lot of entertainment which filling their time, so they don't care whether there's a man or not. And there's a lot of luxury. I mean, in the past, used to be the woman relying on the man for income and the house and the support. And they used to have 10, 12 children because they need them to work on the farm and on the land and things. Now they left the land and they left the countryside. They came to the cities, and families have very little children. And in all Scandinavia and Germany and South Korea and Japan, things that became 1.5 instead of 2.2. The reproduction must be above 1.82 to carry on, fill the gap. But if it drops below 1.82, it's not reversible anymore. So they are going to go. South Korea, Japan, Scandinavians, Germany. That's why they accepted 800,000 Syrians, and the same in Sweden and things. In Britain and France, the African helping the French to have the population, and in Britain the Asian. helping. But we're pleasing Allah. They don't care about Allah, so they do what they like. But then they say, oh, if we have less people, we'll have more luxury to enjoy. But that's actually when you are young. But when you are old, and there's people not to look after you. No.
Well, they're not really doing much dawah, so that's the only way how the Britain will become Muslim country in the end.
Yeah,
No, the warning
by
thing
birth. Yeah, they were LD, yeah, LDE produced a video. I saw it, and by 2050 there will be Europe become Muslim. They're saying they're frightening down English that you have to do something about it. So going back to الورع, الداراني said الورع أول الزهد كما أن القناعة طرف من الرضا. Because zahid is not to eat the minimum. Wara is to avoid the haram, but you could eat. Oh, the halal, you're allowed to eat. But zahid, you only eat what keep you alive. Like حسب ابن آدم القيمات, 3 mouthful of food a day. Who's going to do that? Zahid. Wara, okay, you're eating halal, fine. You know, I'm wara, I'm eating only halal. So Abu Uthman said, ثواب الورع خفة الحساب. Because you haven't done much of eating haram, touching haram. So you go straight, eating what I earned, and I left this and this because I'm in doubt about it. And Abdullah ibn Jala, they say it's him, he said, I know somebody who stayed in Mecca for 30 years, he didn't drink from Zamzam water unless he had a bucket himself and he can get it from Zamzam before these taps came in. So because he doesn't know how did he get the bucket from. Was it stolen? Was it kidnapped? Was it borrowed, never returned? And he wasn't eating, but food came from the countryside. He came from there. Where he took it from. It wasn't like sold from market to market to market, and how many cheats in there. And at Tahiri, he said, Abdullah ibn Marwan, one of your relations, Abdullah Marwan, he dropped 5 pence at his time, filth, in a dirty well. So he employed people, and he spent 13 dinar, like the dinar is 12 dirham, the dirham is 12 fils, and spend quite a lot of money to get it out. They asked, why did you do that? He said, because there's Ismullah written on it. The name of Allah is on it. So he's so worried. He doesn't want to do anything haram. Cost him 13, he dropped 5 pence and you employed people for 13, 3,000 pounds to get it out. Leave it. No, Ismullah on it. So he was so worried. And الورع على وجهين, ورع في الظاهر وهو أن لا يتحرك إلا لله, ورع في الباطن أن لا يدخل قلبك سوى الله. The outward wara is you only do things for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, and Allah accept and agree for. And internal wara is nothing enter your heart but Allah. So even you don't like somebody, you could be Allah doesn't like him. So you don't give him any of your time, just in your heart. And Yahya bin Mu'adh said, من لم ينظر في الدقيق من الورع لم يصل إلى الجليل من العطاء. If you don't look into the small things, you have to be worried about it, like this cup, where it came from, and this paper, where it came from, is it halal or not? You're not going to reach the top. So when in New York made the crime zero tolerance on crime, you know the story? The first to be caught were the top criminals, because he dropped the tissue in the floor. It's $100 fine. They took him to the police station. Oh, he's wanted. He killed 10 people because of the small, the mujrimeen, the top criminals. They're not going to care about dropping this in the street or dropping this in the room, because they kill people or they steal. So that's not a problem for them, but it's caught them. So if you don't take care of the small things, you might do the big things easily. And ابن الجلاء said, من لم يصحبه التقي في فقره أكل الحرام الصرح. and that's I want to translate it to you. Yeah, the one who is not neglectful of the fine points of sportlessness is will not. We said that. The second one, he who observes his religion meticulously. How do you say it? Meticulously, will see his rank raised in importance at resurrection. So you find that you raised up. And Ibn Jalil said, yeah, that's Ibn Jalil. He whose poverty is not accompanied by fear of God consume that which is manifestly forbidden. So if Allah is not really filling your heart all the time, you might eat haram without knowing it. Especially who doesn't know the Quran, doesn't know the Hadith, and don't know that's haram. It is haram. It's like, I had somebody who attended one of my economy talk, and I was saying that if interest is less than inflation, then you're keeping the value of your money, and interest is halal. If interest more than inflation, that's haram, because you're taking money for money. It's haram. And he comes to me, no, for me it's all haram. All interest is haram, even if the inflation is now 15 and 10, and in America 8.5. And I said, I know he deal with the commodity market and things. I said, when you deal with those, do you have leverage? He said, do you use leverage? He said, yes. I said, do your leverage stay overnight? He said, yes, many times. I said, the interest on that is like 10 times the inflation. They charge you interest on leverage sometimes. If the interest is 3, they charge you 30. It's like the APR, like the credit cards. They don't follow the Bank of England. They will charge you interest rate 10 times the Bank of England. So, and he left. he didn't want to talk, and he left. So, so you could be doing haram quite easily if you don't know the Sharia in full. And Yunus ibn Ubayd said, Al-wara' al-khuruj min kull shubha, to get out of everything doubtful. And you bring yourself into account for every glimpse, every look. And Sufyan al-Thawri said, the easy thing is al-wara', because whatever you have doubt about it, leave it. That's it. Problem solved. People going to ask this and ask that until they find one who say halal. They know within themselves. This is why they ask, because they know it's haram. They ask 10 people. And احفظ لسانك من المدح كما تحفظه من الذم. That protect yourself from being over praised, like you protect yourself from being cursed. And Bishr ibn al-Harith says, أشد الأعمال ثلاثة: الجود في القلة والورع في الخلوة وكلمة الحق عند من يخاف منه ويرجى. أشد الأعمال ثلاثة: الجود. Bishr ibn al-Harith. The 3 hardest things are to be generous in penury, and to be scrupulous in seclusion, and to tell the truth to someone whom you fear or expect some benefit from. And Bishr al-Hafi, the sister of Bishr al-Hafi, she came to Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and she said to him, we knit on our roof, and when it becomes dark, sometimes the governor walk with his soldiers, and they carry the lights and to light themselves, and we find that so much light, and we knit more. Is it halal for us or haram? It's like if you go to the street and then the street light, can you read there? The country now, they have no light. They go down to the street light. And he said, who are you? I said, who are you? She said, I'm the sister of Bishr al-Hafi. He said, for you, yes, haram. Because from your house, the wara came. From your house, the wara came. So look at how much she's meticulous about how much she careful that I'm not taking something which I'm not allowed. And um, and when your wara reduced, here Al-Attari passed Basra in the street, and he found children playing, and they were elder brothers, sitting there, and they were not caring about them. He said, "Don't you respect your elders?" They said, "Oh, they have no wara." So when they have no wara, if you are a father in the house and you do things which is haram, don't expect your children to leave it. You will be like, if he's smoking, and he said to his son, "Don't smoke," and he's not going to listen to him. Probably he say, "Have you got a light?" He'll ask his father for a light. And Ibrahim ibn Adham, he asked, "Leon, you drink from the Zamzam?" He said, "If I had my own bucket, I would have." I don't know about people's bucket, where it came from. And Bishr al-Hafi made like request from Allah that if there's the haram food, there's any doubt this is not pure food, that he would not allow him to be able to stretch his hand to. Is there like a araq, like he gets. No, he couldn't stretch his hand to eat from the food. And the guy said to the owner, he said, "You should have not invited him to your meal, because he exposed you. It seems there is some haram in your food. He couldn't reach the food and eat it." And Sahl ibn Abdullah said, "Al-halal al-safi, the things Allah Azza wa Jal has not been disobeyed with when you're getting it. That's the pure halal." And it's a halal al-safi, pure halal, when you don't forget Allah Azza wa Jal. And Hassan al-Basri went and he found the son of the Ali ibn Abi Talib giving a talk in Mecca, and he asked him, "What's the Milakuddin? And how would you get grasp of your religion?" He said, "To be wara', al-wara'." I said, "Afatuddin, what's the disease of the religion?" He said, "At-tama', be greedy." And Hassan said, there's no doubt it's coming out of him. He's still young because he's from the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Musa alayhi salam, Allah Azza wa Jal said to him that nothing gets you closer to Allah Azza wa Jal than wara' and zuhud. Well, wara' obviously avoiding everything in doubt, and zuhud eating just the necessary and having just the necessary what you need. And Abu Huraira said, those who will be with Allah Azza wa Jal the day of judgment, the closest to Allah will be the people of wara' and zuhud. And if you don't have wara', you could eat an elephant. You're not aware of it. And Abu Uthman al-Hiri, he was with somebody who was dying, and the man died. So he blew off the candle. He said, "Why?" He said, "The candle belonged to the man. Now he died. The candle belonged to the inheritance. He's hired also, and we didn't take permission from them to use the light." Wara'. Amazing wara'. I mean. And Kahmas, he had invited a friend for fish, and he didn't have a soap, so they take some of the earth and rub. And he said, I made a sin because for 40 years I couldn't forget that I took from the wall to rub my hands without taking permission from the owner of the house, because it was a rented accommodation. And similar, when they used to write something ink and want to dry it, they put it on the wall which is out of earth and absorb the extra. And so he said, I can't use the wall because I didn't take permission from the owner of the house to use the wall to dry my paper. I can live in the house, I pay. And Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he mortgaged his bucket in Mecca. When he came to take it, he gave him the money. Then the guy came with 2 buckets. He said, I don't know which one is yours. He said, I don't want it then. He said, no, that's yours. I was testing you. He said, no. And that's a lesson, not to test the good people. But he refused to take them and he walked away. He said, keep the money and keep the bucket. I don't want it. And Ibn al-Mubarak, he hired a camel, and while he was praying, the camel ate from the garden of next door, so he left it. It took haram, and I didn't take permission from him. He left the camel and walked. And he came, Ibn al-Mubarak, from Maro to Sham because he borrowed a pen and forgot to give it back. So he went back from 100 miles to give the pen back. You do that in school, yeah? So, Rabi al-Adawiyya, she was stitching her clothes while there were lights coming from the governor with his soldiers. And she said for 10 years, there's some catch in her heart. She can't feel it. What went wrong? Then she remembered. So she ripped what she stitched 10 years ago. She was fine. Because that's what affected her. She was so sensitive to anything haram. And I'm skipping some of them. And here also he was held from going to Jannah because he borrowed a needle and didn't take it back. They saw him, he said, Allah didn't get me into Jannah straight, I'm waiting. And the guy, Allah, he asked one of the dead to Allah give him life, and he became alive. Said, how are you doing? He said, I'm held by Allah because I was carrying some wood and took piece to clean my teeth without taking permission from the owner, according to Wara'. And the last one, that was the last one. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So how much you're going to exercise Wara', and by next week we're going to talk about Zihd, which is more than Wara'. So to clean your heart to become really from the awliyaullah, and that needs some work, inshallah.